Jordan, thanks for joining me. It's good to see you again. We've chatted a bit, but I don't think we've done anything like this before. Can you sort of expand on what you're doing with Bitcoin policy, all that kind of stuff, and give a bit more background to you in the space and where you came from and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for having me on as well. Yeah, we spoke a few times here and there over the last 3 months. I think since Smarter Web's been around. But yeah, background to me is I'll just quickly run you through. So I started a podcast, which was called The Crypto Standard back in the day. Don't shoot me yet. Wait till you get to the end of the story. So yeah, it's called The Crypto Standard. That was maybe 5 years ago now. And it was me and my brother-in-law, like, we wanted to go into cryptocurrency, and like we'd already been doing it privately. We're like, okay, let's make this public now and like actually try and dive into what all of this is about, and then do it in public, which is quite nice, and like learn from experts, because we had the experts coming on. So we had the likes of like Jeff Booth, Greg Foss, Larry Lepard, Nat Brunel, yeah, like amazing guests. And this is when we were like, well, why is this the crypto standard? And we just started to shift to like, why are we in cryptocurrency? And then we moved everything, the business, the podcast, our portfolios to Bitcoin. And then it was always, we were talking about America, and like all those guests that I just rattled off are American, or Canadian. And we were like, well, America, they're doing this, they're doing that. It's very similar to what Andrew Webley says, why he did what he's doing with the Smart Web company. Is in 2021, we were seeing that Bitcoin adoption, everything that was happening, the people talking about Bitcoin were all over the pond. So we were like, okay, let's do a conference. And it was quite cool because we had I hope I can swear on this podcast. I'm only going to say one word, but we had a fuck it moment. And we were like, live on the podcast, we were like, well, should we do a conference in the UK? And we put it out, and then sponsors reached out to us, and they were like, yeah, we'll back you to do it. We started looking at like doing one in Dundee, which is close to where I grew up, in Scotland. And then it was snowballing by this point. And so we're like, oh, Dundee's not big enough. We need to move to Edinburgh. So yeah, and then it turned into the UK's first major Bitcoin conference in 2022. And we had like all of these big names like flying in from around the world, but then we also had like institutions, like we had charities there, like Save the Children, Charity Water, financial institutions like Fidelity there, Coutts Bank were there on stage speaking, and then people, or a member of Parliament at the time was on stage speaking as well.
Was that quite a hard year to launch, being that was in the bear market?
Yeah, it was difficult because Bitcoin was trading at around like 17,000, I think it was. But it was actually, what I say on podcasts is like, and what I say in general is, it was amazing to experience that, because it was people that were care about Bitcoin that were there. They weren't there for number go up. Anyway, we do this conference, and then we've been doing like podcasts, newsletters, like media side of things ever since then. We launched like a Bitcoin education course, which then we pivoted away from, because that was more of a retail focus. But retail aren't really here yet for Bitcoin. Going purely into Bitcoin, and the interest level on Bitcoin. So what we're doing now, and this is like it feels like everything's come together, and like the Bitcoin Collective, this was the right path for the Bitcoin Collective. Is we're essentially in the business of helping businesses adopt a Bitcoin strategy, and when I say that, I mean not publicly traded companies. I mean SMEs in the UK, like small to medium size businesses, because we can take that corporate playbook that we're seeing, and distill that down into how do you actually do this for your business. And that's a quick summary of how we got to where we are.
Okay. And so it sounds like 2025 is going to be quite an exciting year for the Bitcoin Collective, because you've launched your new, or maybe not new, but you've launched your where you're going. Can tell me a bit more about that sort of Bitcoin on the balance sheet thing, and what you're hoping to achieve with it.
Yeah, so it stems from me seeing a lot of people like leaving the UK. Like you'll see it all over like social media at the moment, of like how many people are actually leaving the UK. And unfortunately, these are talented entrepreneurs that maybe have businesses that are relocating their businesses offshore to the UAE, or to Portugal, wherever it is, because it's just not the friendliest environment to be running a business in at the moment in the UK. So I was seeing all this, and it was very difficult watching friends leave. Like, I'm not just saying I see this on Twitter and I see this on social media. It was I see friends leaving, and I can actually witness this in real life, and they're telling me why they're leaving. I've been in Bitcoin for quite a while now, and as Peter McCormack says, it feels like you've got the cheat code. You've got a tool that can combat this. So you're seeing this mass exodus of talent, entrepreneurs leaving the UK, but there is this thing that they just don't understand yet that can actually really, really benefit their business, because it's benefited me as an individual over the years, and it's benefited so many people that I know. And now we're seeing a wave of corporate adoption of Bitcoin. And what I said is, well, essentially what we're doing is pulling that playbook and applying that to the people that are running businesses, whether you're just a one-man band in the UK or woman band in the UK, or you are a sizable company, because I think it's just over 99% of the UK is made up of SMEs. So that's sizable, and it's 60% of the UK workforce is employed by SMEs as well. So yeah, I just put two and two together, and I was like, wow, okay, we do have the cheat code here, and what's missing? It's the education. What have we been doing for years is the education, and distilling it down into like a relatable way for these businesses to understand Bitcoin, but then how it can benefit their company in the long term, because it's not a short term thing. And that's the important thing that people need to understand, is you're not coming in this for a quick trade. This is, how do you take your business from potentially failing because you'll run out of cash maybe in like 2, 3, 4 years, to, okay, let's make this into decades, centuries. And that's where what we're doing is helping these businesses in the UK, and specifically focusing down on the UK. That's the important thing.
And you've got an event coming up later in the year, is that right?
Yeah, we do.
I mean, I'm sure there's stuff you can't talk about it because it's not all fully released yet. But what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so when this episode goes out, we will have the tickets released and more information around it, because we've currently just put out, save the date. So the date is the 21st of November, 2025 for this year. And it's called Bitcoin, a competitive advantage. And it's quite simply like, I've got a fly on me. Bitcoin gives you that competitive advantage, whether you are an individual or if you're a business, to understand this thing early. And when I say like to understand this thing early, this is ridiculously early. Although it might not feel like it if you've been in it for however many years, like Bitcoin is currently trading around $100,000. Like that's nothing. It's a $2 trillion asset. If you know what this thing is, then this is still minuscule. So that's why we've named this event Bitcoin competitive advantage, and it's going to be both for retail but also businesses. It's going to have a stronger focus on businesses and how this cheat code can help a business and what things you can actually do with it, because I think a lot of people don't understand that it's not just you can hold it on your balance sheet. You can accept it as a form of payment. You can pay your employees in Bitcoin. And what we want to do is just take all of that friction out in this event. So bringing experts in. And with the more boring side, or people find the more boring side, is like the accounting for it, the tax on it. It's still very misunderstood. And what we're doing is just taking all of that friction out. And we're going to have an event on Friday. And we're doing it a little bit differently. I was checking there whether I could say it, and I was like, this will definitely be released on Friday, so we're good. We're doing it a little bit different. Is with this event, I found when I go to events, I just stand outside the whole time and talk to people. I'll go to maybe one or two talks and pick and choose which ones I go, and then everyone always says to me, it's like, oh yeah, Jordan will be outside. If you want him, he'll just be out there chatting to people. So I was like, the best thing about these conferences is bringing people together to chat, to network, but then also having the experts, and I'm just saying experts, the people that will be up talking and on panels and all of this, mingling around as well. So what we're doing is we're going to be starting a little bit later in the day, having talks, panels, like our amazing speakers throughout the afternoon, but then going straight into networking at a bar, and straight into a dinner with everyone. So it's all on site, it's all one place. So you're going from conference networking to a sit down dinner. And yeah, hopefully plenty of steak going around as well. So yeah, it's been building it, and we've not done an event or a sizable event in a few years now. So it feels good to be back in a landscape that allows this, because that's one of the reasons why we pull back on doing larger scale events, is that the UK landscape just wasn't very nice to be doing these events. If you're trying to get Bitcoin businesses into the UK to like help fund this thing, then it's very difficult, because a lot of Bitcoin business like, why would I come to the UK? It's just so especially with the FCA, and it's very hostile. But now things are changing, and things are changing fast. So it feels good to be back in the events game and bring people together. And there's also so many other amazing Bitcoin events happening around the UK, which is also nice to see. So yeah, Bitcoin, a competitive advantage, is what we're calling it.
Fantastic. I look forward to hearing more as it develops. Okay, yeah. Seeing as you touched on it, let's talk a little bit about the UK environment. Let's put it that way. Um, you know, the way I see it is we tend to lag America, um, usually by a few years, unfortunately. um, but with their Operation Choke Point 2.0, and then we, as a nation, seem to tighten everything up as well. What is it about now that makes you feel like, oh, things are changing, things are moving the right way?
So many things. But just the way I've described it over the past years, living in the UK, running a Bitcoin business in the UK, um, like advocating for Bitcoin, it felt like there was a small group of like the community, a small group, pushing this boulder up a hill. But now it feels like we've just got like an army now, building around this thing, and it just getting easier to push up. And the reason why is, as you said, what we're seeing in America, and we do lag behind that. By however many years it will be, nobody knows, but we will follow them. Um, but I just didn't expect. If you think about it, the US has a strategic Bitcoin reserve. I mean, just thinking about that, like people still forget it, and it's like that's a huge deal. That this is still like this is happening. Um, so when you just look at that, like the number one superpower country in the world has a strategic Bitcoin reserve. That tells you a lot around where the adoption is, and it gives it for people that maybe don't understand Bitcoin yet or haven't gone down that rabbit hole. It gives it the credibility as well, that countries are looking at buying this thing. Maybe I should go and have a look at it. So now we're seeing, and that's just snowballed from there. Is there's just so much bullish news that's coming out weekly. Like I do a weekly newsletter, and it's so fun. It's so fun writing it now. Like during the bear market, it was like it was also fun, but now there's just so much stuff, and it's like it's gone from taking like an hour or two to like 4 hours now to like pull this thing together. Yeah, the amount of adoption that is happening, and it's just insane, and the price isn't reflecting that, in my opinion, anyway. But it will catch up as well.
Yet, yeah.
Yet,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, cool. And I want to touch on. I think the FCA mentioned recently. I can't remember the exact wording they used, but investigating whether to open up crypto ETNs. Um, uh, have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we ran a Bitcoin town hall on this. We run a X Spaces every week, and we got experts on who know a lot more about this than me. But so I'll repeat what they were saying essentially. Is yeah, these ETNs are not ETFs. They're very different things. And when they put out a consultation like this, so they put out a consultation to get feedback on opening up ETNs to the UK retail market. And apparently, when they do something like this, they've already made their mind up that it's just okay, we'll let you feel like you've been involved. So it feels like that's coming, and then the next step is an ETF, or the unbanning of an ETF, and it feels like that unraveling of the hostility is starting to happen, because at the moment, if you look at Bitcoin companies, they can't market. A lot of them struggle to market in the UK. But once the ETFs come in, that will all change. And then if you that also has a ripple effects around, okay, Bitcoin can be seen a lot more in the UK on advertising. It can get talked about a lot more through, like, the retail will start getting interested in this, given it might be Bitcoin products. So there's then education around Bitcoin products and Bitcoin, and that's something I'm seeing with the likes of Smarter Web as well. Is I'm a big fan of Bitcoin treasury companies, and what I've seen is people getting involved, and friends of mine, I'm just speaking from personal perspective, friends of mine buying into it because of number go up, and they don't understand don't understand Bitcoin, but it's then driven them to understand Bitcoin, because you won't understand what the treasury companies are unless you know what Bitcoin is, and have confidence in Bitcoin, that underlying asset, why they're doing what they're doing. So I'm actually seeing it a huge positive that more Bitcoin spoke about in mainstream, the more it comes up as just as a word, the more people get used to it, then it will drive them to understanding what this thing is. Because a lot of people have been boo-hooing it and putting it off. I've been told I'm crazy multiple times. I'm sure you have as well. I'm sure lots of people listening.
I love that line where they're like, "Oh, you're crazy. It's all a scam," and it's like you've done no research, put no effort in, and you're telling me I'm the mad one. It's like,
It's so funny, and the harder you push back on that, the more crazy that you look as well. So you just have to just be like, okay,
it's good.
well,
Yeah.
okay, you'll come around.
One day you'll get Bitcoin at the price you deserve, right?
Exactly.
I, yeah, my personal experience is a bunch of people I know, including my family members, have invested in SWC off the back of me. And all but two of them don't understand Bitcoin. But I'm using it as an opportunity to start. The door's open now for me to actually have intelligent conversation about it rather than, oh, Bitcoin's just a scam. Um, and it's quite exciting actually because it's people I care about and they're now interested. The first thing I do is send them Joe Bryan's "What's the Problem" video, and then go, look, if you get it off the back of that, let's have a proper conversation. If you're still not interested after that, then we'll talk another time, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's also about how do you ease people into Bitcoin as well, because it's not an easy thing to understand, and it's totally flipping what you thought on its head and telling you that the current system the monetary system that we're using, is actually pretty shit. When you're looking at store of value, anyway. It When you're looking at like medium exchange unit account, yes, that works. But it's then how do you take them down that rabbit hole gently, because you don't want to just take them down full force, because that's quite a scary thing to do. And I think Joe's video is great, as a starting point on, okay, this is what the problem is. This is how fiat infects different parts of our lives. And then the one that I then put people onto is, I don't know if you've read it, and it's not a hugely popular book, but it's Bitcoin Hard Money You Can't Fuck With. It's a great book because it tells Bitcoin through a story again, which is why I add it on to after Joe's. And it eases people in. It's better than just being like, okay, here's the Bitcoin standard. Go and read it. Grind through it. Because it's a Bitcoin standard, you have to read it at some point. But it's no easy read if you're new to Bitcoin. So it's about being able to meet people where they are and slowly take them through it, rather than just going in guns blazing, everything you thought was wrong. Um, Here's a new thing, this magical internet money, this new technology. It's a very difficult mindset shift.
Yeah, it's quite a hard sell to go in hard. Um, I like Larry Lepard's book as the sort of next level, because although it's US focused, it's kind of like this is a sequence of events that have led to where we are at now, and most people can follow it, you know. Um, so
He
I
also
quite
tells it, yeah, he tells it through a story as well, which is what I love. Yeah, Larry's would be up there with like maybe the next one that I'd recommend as well. And there's so many now. It's just knowing knowing which ones to what order to put them in. I think because yeah, like two of the greatest books I've read is The Fourth Turning and The Sovereign Individual. And man, the amount of times that it took me to read those, like just picking them up, putting them down, picking them up. But at the same time, they're like two of my favorite books around Bitcoin, but they're not actually directly saying Bitcoin. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Like I love looking at like how you should be introducing people to Bitcoin, and I've learned like different ways of doing it, and like as I said, like meeting people where they are. So if someone is interested in the more techie side, to know, okay, I need to give you something that's a little bit more technical that you'll understand.
cool. And you mentioned earlier about the maybe we're gathering some momentum on the pushing the boulder up the hill in the UK. What sort of do you think the Bitcoin treasury companies, the UK ones, are helping with that? Do you think that's part of the army?
Massively. Yeah. I think everyone, like what we're seeing is the excitement from America coming over to the UK is like, oh, we're not doomed anymore. Like we're going to get there. But then the exposure of yeah, well, these treasury companies around the world popping up, and then specifically in the UK as well, it is like a marketing tool for Bitcoin. Because as I was saying, like I'm seeing people buy it in their SIPs, in their ISAs. Um, they'll buy it and then they'll be like, oh, why is this just doubled? And it's like, oh, maybe I should actually look into what this company is, or these companies are, whatever ones they're getting involved in. And it's actually making people learn about Bitcoin. And it's getting Bitcoin named in mainstream media as well. Like we've seen it in the, is it the Mail on? We've seen Smarter Web on the Mail on Sunday, like the Financial Times, all of
The
these like
CNBC.
CNBC. Yeah, hat off to Andrew for handling that one very well. Uh, but it's getting Bitcoin named, and that's the important thing for me is it's getting more exposure for Bitcoin. And then the next stage is, okay, well, people need to then learn about Bitcoin and like, why are these Bitcoin treasury companies accumulating Bitcoin? The one I like to use, or what I like to say when people can't really understand what's happening, is I use McDonald's as a example. I don't know if you've ever come across this, but I did it in a presentation I've given to quite a few companies around. McDonald's isn't a like fast food chain; it's a real estate company, and lots of people don't really realize this. And if you've seen the film, like there's a film about this as well called The Founder. Great film, but it's just telling the story of how McDonald's came about. And McDonald's, the last time I checked, I think on their accounts last year, they had about $45 billion worth of real estate on their balance sheet. It's probably quite a lot more than that now. Um, I keep wanting to sneeze. I'm on the edge of sneezing. I'm so sorry if I'm like looking a bit weird. um, so McDonald's are actually a real estate company, and they've been accumulating an asset or assets over the years. And that's almost like their financial moat, is what I like to call it. Is they've got their operating business, which is their burgers and fries franchisee chain, which is massive. But then in the background, they've been buying up land, real estate, which is then means that they don't just last decades, they last centuries. And I think in the next 5 years, I want to say they've been around for a century. So yeah, they're coming up for a century old company. And yeah, real estate was good over those years, but now we've got a new thing. We've got digital, let's just call it digital real estate. And this is a good way of like making it relatable to people. Of like, you've seen companies do this before. They've moved that cash into an asset. And what we're seeing now is we're seeing companies move it into a more finite asset. So it's a good way of just making it a little bit relatable and see that, oh, other companies have actually done a similar style of strategy before over the years. But now it's just understanding Bitcoin. Once that clicks, it's like, okay, this makes total sense. How do I get on my balance sheet?
And then where where do you think we are in that with regards to like the 4 year cycle, bull market, and things like that? Do you think do you have a feeling that it's kind of been pushed back and delayed by all the like tariff stuff and all those kind of things? Like America hasn't started printing properly yet. Or do you think, we're running up to the end of the year and that's when it's going to go pop?
It's a very difficult one to say whether the 4 year cycles are still in play. I think somewhat they are. I yeah, I'm not good at predict, or nobody can predict what we're gonna do. But I just remember from 2020, 2021 kind of era where there was this whole narrative around a super cycle and like it's different this time. Um, and I think it was Dan Held that coined the super cycle, I want to say. Um, and it wasn't different that time. But this time I don't know. It is there's dramatically more, or there's a huge amount more of capital getting flowed into Bitcoin, and people that are not selling. That's also a thing. So like these treasury companies, if they start to look like they're selling Bitcoin, that's suicidal. So they're just holding on to this. Same with, you've seen ETFs just accumulating Bitcoin, although I think treasury companies are actually doing it faster at the moment. So I think we'll see somewhat of a 4 year cycle still. We might not get the dramatic pull downs that we've seen. But I always think conservatively in my head. So I always base everything on 4 year cycles. Like that's what we've seen historically. So let's just project what it's going to be. That's what it's going to do in the future. And that actually doesn't change the strategy of really anything. Is you will be buying Bitcoin whatever the price. So actually, it doesn't really matter if it draws down. If it has a blow off top October, November this year, then it draws down. Then cool, it's a little bit cheaper. That's nice. And then when we were speaking to businesses, educating businesses, we are speaking with that historic 4 year cycle in mind, because it's a long-term play. Like we're talking to businesses, and we need to know that this is they're thinking long-term as well. So it's a big education piece around, okay, well, this is like, you need to be thinking in decades with this. Um, so that's really important. And the 4-year cycle, yeah, I don't have a simple answer for you, unfortunately. But I always think like in those terms, because that's what could happen. And if it does, what I think when the ETFs came out for in January 2024, there's a big narrative around, oh, will this be like the gold ETF that launched the first gold ETF in the US? I think it was 2003, I want to say. And it pretty much went on, like, I think it was a 9 year, you need to verify this, I'm just doing this off the top of my head, a 9 year bull market with a little like blip in the middle for a bit, but it just rocketed. So there was a strong narrative around that, and I'm not saying that couldn't happen. It totally could, because now Bitcoin is eating everything, and now it's in the capital markets of so many jurisdictions. This is exciting, and nobody knows. It's like into the unknown, and it's something that we understand and we have understood for such a long time. Bitcoin hasn't changed. The world has changed around it, and people are educating themselves around it. So what could happen over the next 5 to 10 years is, yeah, I'm very, very bullish and excited to see the last point. Sorry, I know I'm talking a lot. The last point is, I'm very excited about this period that we are living in. Like, we're living in such a period of change, and it's really cool to see that we get to experience what's happening here, like the revolution of how we actually use money globally, transfer value globally. And a lot of people that I know are very just pessimistic in life, and I come bounding in with optimism. And I'm like, we're living through like one of the greatest periods of change that we will see, or we have seen before previously. It's very exciting.
I mean, yeah, it's massively exciting. I think Jesse Myers calls it the once in a species event, and I think he's bang on with that. I guess I kind of, everyone who's watched any of my videos knows I'm SWC all the way. But I do genuinely believe there's room for multiple Bitcoin treasuries in the UK, and that some will also be successful. What are your thoughts on the maybe the slightly more shady copycats that maybe don't know the playbook, or they're just getting on the bandwagon because number go up? Do you think that could be damaging for Bitcoin and the other treasuries?
So I agree with you. There's obviously room in each jurisdiction for lots of Bitcoin companies, treasury companies. Eventually, like, this is all short term as well, because it's like eventually every company will have Bitcoin on its balance sheet, and it's just like, this is like companies just capitalizing on, okay, we can get cheap Bitcoin, and nobody really knows this playbook yet. So there's definitely room for quite a lot, like lots of treasury companies within each market. But you're right, there's going to be copycats, and people come in, try and just jump on the bandwagon. And I don't think it'd be necessarily bad for Bitcoin, because I don't believe that these companies could get big enough to then influence anything. But yeah, I'm seeing a few that don't understand Bitcoin fully, or you can see that they've just pivoted very quickly. Whereas a telltale sign for me is if a company goes public, and they've been accumulating Bitcoin for years prior to that, If their CEO, the founder, whoever it is, understands Bitcoin, they've built a solid team. Like it's not just like an easy thing. You can just put Bitcoin on your balance sheet and your number goes up of your share price. It's not that simple. It is, you need to understand what this thing is. You then need to build a team around it who know what they're doing. Like that's such a huge thing of like, if you're anyone that's trying to assess Bitcoin treasury companies, you have to be looking at the team, and what's the strategy and execution as well. Like, are they sticking to that? Because as soon as they start to like veer off, then that's a red flag for me. So inevitably you're going to get copycats, people that jump on the bandwagon. It's not going to work for them. But they will maybe have a bit of Bitcoin on their balance sheet then, which is, yeah, a plus side. But eventually, in the long term, we're going to see most companies that will have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And yeah, that's my take on like the whole landscape, because it's evolving so fast as well. Like over the past like 3 months, I've had to learn all of these terms like MNAV, days to cover, all of this. Like it's a big learning curve for a lot of people as well. So yeah, it's important to do your own research on these sorts of things. And I would say that like Bitcoin treasury companies, when you're looking at safety and all of that, like it comes with risks. Whereas with Bitcoin, like that's my like savings account essentially, and that's the thing that's the only thing I can trust really. But then at the same time, you're seeing treasury companies that are doing amazing things, and there's so much capital out there locked up that's getting slowly released into Bitcoin, which is a nice thing to see. And then education also follows this, as I'm seeing.
Yeah, I think I think Saylor called it the digital gold rush. The next 10 years or so. I'm not sure at the pace that these treasuries are starting to accumulate Bitcoin, if that's going to last 10 years. Like the numbers are crazy. But what do I know? I don't want to call out the goat as being wrong, but it just feels like he's already at 600,000 coins. Treasuries consumed was it 120,000 coins last month?
I can't remember the figures.
Was it last quarter? Last quarter maybe. But it was the pace is astounding. So yes, it's a super exciting time for us to be alive and in the space as well. Thank you very much, Jordan. That's been awesome to have you on. Where can people find you in the Bitcoin Collective, so they can find you on X or whatever?
Yeah. Well, you can just go to our website, bitcoincollective.co, or you can reach out to me. I'm JAYW132 on X.
Just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. Everyone always asks me why 132, and the answer is because 123 wasn't available. But yeah, please reach out to us, like especially if you've got a business as well and you're in the UK and you're looking into like all of these public companies, what they're doing. Like there's a lot of UK companies that are holding Bitcoin and they're just not speaking about it, and there's a lot that need help with how do you do this, how do you take the friction out of this, and then of course we'll be running this event, so look out on socials for that, and come along and just get involved.
Perfect. Thanks again, Jordan.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on.